Thank you so much. It is a real honor to speak to everyone. I enjoyed the sessions yesterday, and there's some amazing speakers coming up today following me, starting with Rahul, and I'll touch on that just now. But so using AI, real-time analytics processing to improve customer offerings is a massive topic. But what I would like to do today is just to lay the foundation of what this means. Sometimes when we speak about this technology, it can sound so much like fluff. How can we make it really practical? How can we make it practical in our own businesses? So for me, hopefully I can give you a few pointers as to what this is and how to go on the journey to actually use AI when it comes to analyzing the data of your customers and decision making. A little bit about me. I'm going to go through this very quickly. Andis has already done the intro. I work at IQ. I'm involved with the ITPSA. And then I would like to invite you all to visit my website at some stage. I actually did an interview with Renee, who was a speaker yesterday, and with Rahul, who is the next speaker. And you will see on my website that there's a number of speakers or people globally that I have this half-an-hour chat with that I record. I recently did a talk with somebody who's a research scientist at Google and who is deaf from birth. And you must see the amazing technology that he's created while at Google. So when you have time, go and have a look at that website. So I want to start off with a brief story. I'm a mobile phone owner, like all of you. And on the 1st of August, my 2-year contract came up for renewal. But I wasn't contacted by the mobile phone company. Luckily, I did remember. Now, as many of you know, when you register for a cell phone contract, part of that first year or 2 years worth of monthly payments that you pay is to finance the handset. That's why you get it for free, although it's not really for free. But at the end of the contract period, which for me was the 1st of August, essentially my billing should come down because I'm no longer financing the handset. Of course, they didn't contact me. Of course, they're not going to say a word until I phone them and say, guys, what can we do now? Can I get a new package, a new phone, or can I use the current handset and you just maybe lower my monthly costs? I actually did call them twice, and both times the call dropped and they didn't call me back. So I'm thinking, what are they doing with my data? And what are they doing with my data to keep me as a customer? And also for me to maybe commit to even more expensive, more elaborate products and services. So I would have loved to have received an email or a call from this organization to say, we don't know if you remember, but you're up for renewal on the 1st of August. And based on the data we have on you, in other words, the amount of calls you make, the amount of data you use, we would like to offer you 3 or 4 exciting products to consider. Currently, I'm looking at different mobile phone networks, but they could have caught me right there and then by providing me with solutions and offerings that would have been so amazing. They have all data. Why are they not doing it? So today's talk can be very theoretical. But I want to talk about the fact that we can use data better and we can use technology like artificial intelligence and machine learning to serve our customers better, to maybe get into markets we didn't consider before. So not only is it there to potentially lower our operational costs and make us more efficient, but this should help us make more money. This should help us increase our business footprint if we have the right data and if we use it in the right way. Just very briefly, 2 sentences to keep in mind. The business value of artificial intelligence. Optimizing decision-making, resulting in faster responses to targeted questions. Secondly, processing high volumes of data, recognizing patterns that one may not be looking for. So when you go through all the fluff of what AI is in a business context, for me, really, it's summarized in these 2 sentences. And I like the second one in particular, because we might tell the tech that we use to find certain things, but we've already decided what those things are. In other words, how many of our customers are in a specific geography or of a certain gender or in a certain age group or income bracket. But what this technology should do if we use it right is to give us answers to questions we have not asked it because we didn't know to ask those questions. It should recognize patterns we did not ask it to look for. And that's really where the value comes in with this kind of technology. Little bit about real-time analysis. So the screen you see at the moment is just on a very high level, very basic level, the process we typically go through. And it's done by humans mostly. We capture data, We integrate it, we analyze it, we have reporting on it, and then we make decisions from a business point of view. It's often very slow, very reactive, and very inaccurate. And it starts with the data capturing. Sometimes, and I've done some consulting with banks in particular, and I've worked for a bank as well, there were days that I thought, I don't know how the bank opens its doors every day, because we had data all over the show. We even had customer data on USB sticks. Now imagine from a POPIA or a GDPR point of view, from a privacy point of view, the can of worms that you can open up with that. But not only the risk of having data all over the show is what do you do with that data? Where do you store it? So the start of this whole journey is to make sure you have access to the right client data, that you store it in the right way, and that you can access it before you even start processing it. What's happening at the moment is a lot of us are using some sort of technology, robotic process automation or some sort of AI or machine learning. So now we are still humans, the business leaders or the business team, utilizing some sort of a technology to make this go quicker and better. But where we're going to, and this is what I want to use in this conversation, is the next picture you see, where humans are cut out of the loop to a very large extent, and where the machines speak to other machines, and where the decision making has happened at a machine intelligence level, autonomously, in other words, without human involvement. This is already possible. Some organizations are doing it. Think, for instance, of Amazon. Imagine, and I'm going to talk about supply chains in a bit. Imagine the hundreds and thousands of products that Amazon sell on a daily basis. The kind of procurement and time to market decision and stock fulfillment decisions is way too big for any human team or human teams to do. So it must be done by some sort of machine intelligence. So that trigger to procure from a factory or from an overseas supplier is done autonomously. It's done by the machines. Now, Amazon is one example. We can speak about Google, Alibaba, and all kinds of others. You might be listening to me. You say, me and my little business, well, little compared to an Amazon or a Google, can I use this technology? And the answer is absolutely yes. And what I want to just land in this short talk is maybe how to get onto this road to get to this point where certain decisions can be made within a certain framework by machines. But just remember this picture. It's no longer humans and machines. We're getting to a point where it's machines and machines. Think of something like the so-called Internet of Things or the industry of things or whatever they call it. I've even read that it's called the artificial intelligence industry of things. Think of all the sensors we might have in a building, from a building maintenance point of view, from a car fleet point of view, hundreds of other examples. In the past, and remember, sensors speaking to us, giving us data has been around for, I don't know, 40 years, 60 years or longer. But to really interpret that data and for the sensors now to speak to each other and to give each other instructions, that's where this technology is going. And I'm going to speak about home and office in a little bit. Just to talk through some practical use cases. For me, the first area where we can use this kind of predictive analytics from an AI machine learning point of view is in customer service. Think of the example I used about my cell phone contract when I started this conversation. It's frustrating for all of us to call a call center or even to speak to a chatbot, because a lot of chatbots are fairly stupid. I don't know if you've experienced that. There's not a heck of a lot of intelligence. So it's looking for certain keywords, and maybe it's a bit quicker and it's 24/7, so you don't need an actual call center. You don't need to speak to an actual human being. But so far, there's not a lot of intelligence in a lot of these so-called chatbots. Think of a call center, and imagine working in a call center. Imagine answering the same questions over and over again, 8-9 hours a day. I would kill myself. But what now if we can use some sort of intelligence and maybe a chatbot to filter out those repetitive questions that a lot of customers are asking? And we're only sending the call through to a human agent when it's something that needs interpretation, perhaps empathy, so the AI can, for instance, pick up whether there's irritation in the voice of the customer, might escalate it quicker. But what I want to get to is the following. I call a call center or I speak to a chatbot. It should instantaneously have all the relevant data about myself to help me quickly. So how often do we not find call center agents ask us things, and I'm not talking about the beginning of the call where they check your identity number and maybe some other security questions. But they ask you questions about how you're using their product to help you, but they should know it already. I think of an example. There's an insurance company, if I remember correctly, I think it's in China. They have a 72% accuracy on predicting which customer will call them on what day, on what time of the day, and with what question or problem. Imagine that. But now can you imagine the accuracy and the amount of data they have on their customers? I would love this. When I have a problem with my bank account or I need my car serviced, by the time the call center agent or the bot answers me, they already know what I'm going to most likely ask, and they already have the answers ready. They only escalate it further up the chain if they can't answer my question. So using our client data through predictive analytics and through this kind of technology, we can service our customers so much better. We can also, when customers phone in about a problem, based on the data we have, upsell products to them. Customers who phone in with a problem don't want you to sell to them, but if you can fix their problem very quickly and it's a pleasant experience for them, and by the way, you mentioned, have you considered this and this product? And the products you mentioned is not a lot of nonsense that's not relevant to them at all, but it's very relevant. And it's something that they think, I'm so glad you've asked me about this. That is a customer experience you want your customers to have. And that's how you can increase your revenue. Next, supply chain. Think of ships all over the world on the oceans, airplanes full of stock, taking it to warehouses, and from warehouses to other warehouses, and eventually to people. And I alluded to this when I spoke about Amazon. So from a fulfilling your stock levels point of view, based on predictive analytics and very accurate analytics. And remember, the other thing about predictive analytics is that it's instantaneous. So you don't look at your last quarter's worth of sales, and based on that, you kind of hope for the best and you plan your stock levels for the next quarter. Imagine and think of Amazon again and others, that you can on a second-by-second basis determine the trends that's happening and how your clients per region, per geography, per income bracket, per area where you do certain marketing initiatives, what they're reacting to through social media, through the use of their apps, and you can back-to-back fulfill that from a procurement and an end-to-end supply chain point of view. It could even be something like your printer. A lot of printers these days come with some sort of a service agreement where you don't order a cartridge when it's done. Because how many of us walk to a printer and you press print and the cartridge is finished or the paper's finished, and especially if you're running off to a meeting. So imagine on the right day, somebody arrives with the cartridge, they install it, they maybe fill the paper again, but it's instantaneous. So the printer tells the supplier, I'm running out, and the supplier fulfills it. You don't even know it's happening. It's based on the service contract. All you know, because what's the outcome you want? Is that there's always ink in the cartridge, and there's always printer in the paper. And we can apply this to many, many other things. The next thing I'd like to chat about is home and office. Think of meeting rooms, which is not so relevant these days anymore because most of us are working from home. But how many times do we not struggle to find a meeting room in a big corporate? And when we finally do find one, we may be just 2 people in the meeting. We're sitting in a room where there's 12 chairs. Can we not use our meeting rooms better? You can, for instance, use sensors in your meeting rooms that pick up the combined body temperature. So the sensor can then pick up there's about 5 people in the room and compare it with what's the room size. And then from a predictive analytics on the fly point of view, actually direct you to the right room. So now there are more rooms available. When you are 2 people, you're sitting in a room with 2 or 4 chairs, no longer in a room that's massive. So that's one use. Think of it from a home point of view. I've got a friend who's implemented this kind of technology in his house. He's got a little weather station in his roof that talks to the sensors in his swimming pool. So for instance, if it's been raining, it doesn't fill up the pool, it doesn't water the garden because it's picked up that it's raining. Even his fridge can pick up whether certain items are running low. And we're not at that point yet in South Africa, but in other markets, through Amazon, for instance, you can actually have your milk and whatever else you have in your fridge being auto-fulfilled because the fridge is now ordering it on your behalf. Almost done. Predictive maintenance is a big topic. How much money do we not spend on maintaining our equipment, whether it's a factory or your fleet of delivery vehicles or many, many other examples? It's not just the cost of actually replacing that part, it's the downtime cost. So say you've got a fleet of 20 delivery vehicles and one breaks down for 4 days because that's how long it takes for the part to arrive. It's that missed opportunity. That's the real cost. So through sensors on our vehicles or in our buildings, we can actually now, with prediction and using this kind of technology, determine, like the brakes on that truck needs to be serviced in 3 months. Let's trigger the order or the booking with the service venue so that you have optimal uptime and can sweat those assets. So predictive maintenance in so many different kind of scenarios is really where I think this is potentially currently the most exciting way and place to use this technology. A little bit on the journey. I've got 2.5 minutes left, rushing through it. Let's just keep it simple. We can get so smart when we talk about this technology. So you might be in a business and you might have a small business. Where do you start in this journey? And the steps I have here applies to not just this topic, it applies to any new technology you introduce into your business, whether you digitize, whether it's AI machine learning, whether it's robotic process automation or many other things. Start off with a business case. Don't let the tech department come in with their, and forgive me if I offend you, with their propeller heads, because they've read a book, they've been to a conference, and they want to implement something. What business problem does it solve? And remember, go all the way back to customer service. So it makes our business more operational costs, it brings it down. It helps us to increase our speed to service our customers. But it also helps us to actually produce and offer services or products to our customers that we have not done before. What is the business case? That's where you start, and that's also where the funding lies. Secondly, imperative that your processes in your business are mature. In the consulting work I'm doing, I'm still surprised. And I'm talking about big name customers in certain areas where their processes are not only not understood, not documented, but it is a total mess. And then they think robotic process automation or some sort of AI will come in as a silver bullet and just fix it for them. In fact, any sort of automation, any sort of AI will just absolutely explode whatever is there. So if your processes, your data, and so forth is a mess, it is going to be 1,000 times more of a mess when you introduce this kind of technology. I've mentioned data, so that's the third thing. So not only the business case, not only your processes, and pick 1 or 2 processes, start there. Don't try and automate every process in your business. What are the processes that will benefit you the most? And then the data that you capture from your customers. Think then about regulation, think about compliance, think about the fact that how we store and use our customer data is much more regulated now than years back. And have that data in a format that you can easily use. Then you make your technology decision. Sometimes artificial intelligence is not the answer to your problem. Sometimes it's not even robotic process automation. It could be that you can use Microsoft Flow, but make your technology decisions smart. Think what you already have in-house, and then only you start off with a pilot. And that really is it. And you can use partners to help you if you don't want to go on this journey by yourself. But hopefully, the one thing I want to leave with you is this is real, it's here now, we can do it. Make sure it's your business case, make sure you service your customers better. And it is possible to become a much more profitable business if you do this right. Right on time, I think. And Lisa, thank you so very much.